Why 48 teams changes everything. FIFA just blew up the World Cup, and depending on who you ask, that's either the greatest decision in football history or the beginning of the end. The World Cup is going from 32 teams to 48. 16 more countries, a bigger bracket, a completely different tournament. And most people have no idea how deep this rabbit hole actually goes. Stick with me for the next few minutes, because this changes way more than you think. Let's start with the obvious question. Why 48? Money. Okay, we can go home now, just kidding, but also kind of not kidding. FIFA projects the 48-team World Cup will generate over $11 billion in revenue. That's a jump of roughly $3 billion compared to the 32-team format. More teams means more matches. More matches means more broadcast deals. More broadcast deals means more money flowing into FIFA's bank account. In theory, it's a win for everyone. In practice, it's a bit more complicated than that. Here's where it gets interesting. The format itself. The 32-team World Cup used 8 groups of 4. Clean. Simple. Everyone plays 3 games. 2 teams go through, 1 team gets heartbroken and flies home. You knew the rules before the first ball was kicked. The new format? 12 groups of 4. Top 2 from each group advance automatically. And then the 8 best third-place teams also qualify. That's right, you can finish third and still go through. This sounds simple. It isn't. The third-place problem. Here's the chaos hiding inside that rule. When 8 out of 12 third-place teams go through, it creates a massive calculation nightmare in the final round of group games. Teams don't know if finishing third is good enough. Do you push for the win? Do you play for a draw? Do you protect your goal difference? Every match in the final group stage becomes a math exam nobody signed up for. You know the type of game. Everyone's watching the scoreboard in 4 different stadiums at once, completely confused. That's now a feature of every single group stage. Fun? Maybe. Stressful? Absolutely. More teams, more stories, more upsets. Here's the argument FIFA would love you to hear. In 2022, Morocco reached the semi-finals and rewrote what African football could look like on the world stage. Saudi Arabia beat Argentina. Japan knocked out Germany and Spain. 32 teams gave us those moments. Imagine 48. You're now bringing in nations that have never touched a World Cup. Countries where qualifying itself was the dream. First-time qualifiers bring raw emotion that is genuinely impossible to fake. When a tiny nation scores their first ever World Cup goal, that footage goes everywhere. That moment is priceless. And with 48 teams, there are more of those moments than ever before. But here's the other side of that coin. More teams also means more mismatches. In a 32-team World Cup, there's a natural filter. The qualifying rounds are brutal. Every team that shows up has genuinely earned it. At 48 teams, some of those extra spots come from regions where the competition is, let's be honest, a little thinner. There's a real risk of seeing 8-0 score lines in group stages, matches that feel more like training sessions than World Cup football. The concern isn't that weaker teams don't deserve to dream. It's that blowouts can drain the energy from the tournament before the knockout rounds even begin. Balance matters. The physical demand nobody's talking about. The 48-team format means 104 matches. The 32-team format had 64. That's 40 extra games crammed into a schedule that's already operating inside a packed club football calendar. The players playing in knockout rounds are potentially doing so on shorter rest windows. The host nation needs more stadiums, more infrastructure, more everything. The 2026 World Cup is being hosted across the United States, Canada and Mexico. 16 cities, 3 countries, an entire continent as a venue. That scale is extraordinary. And it only became necessary because you need enough stadiums to physically host 104 games across a month. This is unprecedented. Nobody has done this before. The qualification ripple effect. Before, qualifying for the World Cup was a brutal elimination process. It meant something enormous. The African continent had 5 spots. Asia had 4.5. CONCACAF had 3.5. The number of spots was so limited that entire footballing regions lived and died on a single playoff match. With 48 teams, those allocations expand significantly. more African nations qualify, more Asian nations qualify, more spots for everyone. In theory, this democratizes the sport. In practice, it also slightly devalues what was once a near impossible achievement. So it's a trade-off, and football purists are deeply uncomfortable with it.